Hey, YouTube, I'm back with another one, guys. This one's probably going to be a little bit brief because I'm hot, guys. I'm sweating out here, so I apologize if I'm wiping my face, but feels like I'm in an oven right now. All right, just so you all know, it's like 115 degrees where I stay at in Arizona, so man, it's hot. So bear with me, and I got a little video for you guys here. This is a good one, man. It's your boy Subconscious back with another video. I hope this video finds you guys at a good spot in your day. As always, you guys are in a good place to receive this message, man. So this is something that I realized along the journey, bro. I just made a video about semen retention, how it can be the most important thing in your life, and I kind of wanted to piggyback off of that one. So do you guys remember, or I know you've heard, maybe you have said this yourself, right? Or you've heard other guys say, or even, women, a lot of people say this, all right? And they say, I wish I could go back to how it was. I wish I could go back to childhood. Life was more simple back then. I was happier. I was more free-spirited. I had better energy. Guys, as men, semen retention is how we do this, all right? That's what I've come to, is what I've realized, my hypothesis, right? Semen retention gets us, like I said in the last video, I've said this in many videos. Sheesh! That just scared me, guys. Yeah, that was a firework. Where was I? Scared me. Semen retention teleports you back to basically that childhood energy, guys. Like I said, you start off as a kid, and you have your childhood, guys. And I know we all remember our childhood. We were more free-spirited. You had a higher vibration. You had a high vibration, right? I don't want to say higher, but high vibration. You loved yourself. Just more free-spirited, bro. Tapped in. You had confidence. You felt maybe connected to God. You felt, more spiritual strength, right? Throughout our childhood. That's basically what people say when they say this, when they're talking about, oh, I wish I could go back to how it was. Life was better back then. They're basically just talking about the way that they felt about themselves, right? And it's like the bottom line is that back in the day you had a higher vibration, all right, and you loved yourself more. That's all it was. It's not like the details matter. I know maybe childhood is nice. You know what I'm saying? It's easier. Your parents. You have. Everybody knows childhood is dope, right? You don't have to do much. You don't have to work. You become an adult, things change. You got to start doing more stuff. So I know there's that aspect to it, but it's also the whole. It's basically how you felt about yourself as a kid. So I want to get into it. I believe that semen retention gets us back to this place. All right. I think that SR teleports you back to your childhood energy, and you basically, this is your old self right here, right? And then you go and you're going, boom, you hit all these bad habits. You start maybe smoking weed, drinking, start loading up the websites, having casual sex, chasing women. That's how it started for me, guys. And all these things that we do, see, I'm already sweating, you guys. Sheesh. All these things that I just explained to you guys, they lower our vibration, right? So it's basically, you were pure before you started doing all this stuff. So chasing women, for me, it started with chasing women. It started literally first grade, bro. I had a girlfriend, right? So I started focusing on women, focusing on other things besides God, focusing on worldly stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that essentially lowers your vibration because you're chasing worldly things and you're not going within, to realize your own power, right? So that's where it started for me, chasing women. I started smoking weed, and then I got into high school, started loading up the website, started, busting nuts like a crazy person, and then you guys already know where that leads, right? That leads to spiritual death, all right? So as a kid, you're pure, and then you run into all these different types of behaviors, the toxic behaviors, and it lowers your vibration, bro, and it brings you to spiritual death. That's why for this period of time, you felt dead spiritually, all right? You were, as a kid, you were full of life, natural confidence, tapped in with God. You were more creative, you were more free-spirited, you were more confident, you could talk to people, you could talk to guys, you had more friends, you could talk to girls easier. Guys, come on. This is because you had more self-love at that time, because you weren't spiritually dead. Okay, it's all spiritual. It's not about the details. Like I said, I know childhood is nice, you know what I'm saying, where you can just chill and, you know, be a kid, you know, no responsibilities, and adult life is hard, but no, we can still get back to the same energy. You know, it's all about our spiritual connection. All right, so I believe that semen retention for guys brings you back to this place where you need to be. You know, brings you back to feeling like a kid again. It brings you back to feeling spiritually tapped in. All right. So that's what it is, guys. I think the biggest one, you know, is the busting of the nuts. Is the busting of the nuts. All right, that sounded weird. So basically, when you guys started busting nuts all the time, it lowered your vibration. All right, and this is why we talk about this so much, and this is why there's channels upon channels about this topic. You know, about semen retention and no fat, is because it's so powerful. Because our life force is so powerful, and it will rejuvenate yourself once you get it back going. You know what I'm saying? Once you get it back going in your life, you get the testosterone flowing, you're going to teleport back to who you were. You know, if you're one of those people that said, I wish I could go back to childhood, I wish I could go back to how things were going as a kid, bro, go on SR. All right, try it. Just try it, bro. Just try it and get back to me. Let me know how it goes. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Do something like that, you know what I mean? And then get back to me. Let me know how you feel. Because I got a really close buddy who's I think he's on like 60 days or something right now. And his whole life has changed. You know, he said it's the most important thing he's ever done in his entire life. You know, that's what inspired me to do the last video. So it's no joke, you guys. You know, you're gonna teleport back to who you are. But now you're an adult, you know what I mean? So, you know, you're going to be experiencing, you know, more joy, more gratitude, you know, spiritual blessings. You know, you're going to have those belly laughs on SR. Let me know if you guys can relate, but guys, I'd be cracking up at different things, you know, throughout the day, just laughing, you know, so hard. You guys remember back when you were a kid, maybe in like middle school or grade school, when you and your buddies were, you would laugh just about stupid stuff, or maybe in class, you know, at school, you'd be like hanging out and you'd be with your friend and you'd be trying so hard not to laugh, but you had those belly laughs that are just ridiculous. You know, I have that now again on semen retention, you know, and I know a lot of other people do. So that's another testament how it'll bring you right back to that person who you used to be, bro. All right. It's basically like you back in the day, you know, you pretty much had no fear. You know what I mean? That's what it was like, a thing of no fear, you know, natural confidence. And what I think is really going on, guys, the bottom line is just the self-love. You know, as kids, we love ourselves more because we have more love and we're more spiritually tapped in. You know, we have parents, you know, hopefully you guys had, you know, a good life with your parents and your family and stuff like that. Or just people, you know, who loved you in general. But as a kid, you know, we have more love around us, right? And we feel more tapped in. So in result, we love ourselves more. So you go on SR, the longer you retain, you guys, what I've noticed is that you start to love yourself more. All right. So it's a matter of self-love, you guys. And we're talking about, you know, who you were as a kid versus, you know, who you were when you ended up going off the path versus who you are now. It's all spiritual. All right. It's just that you had more self-love, right? You had more self-love as a kid, and you had a better vibration. In the period where you decided to start smoking and drinking and busting nuts and doing all this, you know, matrix activity, all this, you know, demonic type stuff, you know, that the devil wants us to participate in, bro. When we go off the path, because that's what happened to me. You know, I went into some deep, dark holes, you guys, and that period, it lowers our vibration, and we were like stuck. So it's like, it seemed like we were stuck, you know, and it was permanent, right? But little did we know, we just needed to, you know, go on semen retention, right, and get our life force back going, but also tap in with God, you know. So it's a very powerful tool, you guys, man, and it really, this is what I truly believe, is that when you go on SR, it's going to bring you back to who you were, you know, as a kid. I've made other videos on this. I think it was called The Real You, brings you back to the real you. But that's what it is, man. You know, you jump over that fence. you know, back over all the BS that you were doing, back to who you were, but now you're an adult, right? So you can kind of operate the meat suit, you know, the video game, the way that you want to do it. Now that you have, you know, better self-awareness, and you can kind of understand what took you down, and now you know what you need to do to stay tapped in and to stay the best version of yourself. All right, guys? So hopefully y'all got something out of this, man. I was kind of rambling, and that firework definitely scared the crap out of me. So much love, guys. Catch you guys on the next one, all right? Hope y'all are staying strong. Peace.